AMD stock will shock investors in the next 30 days. So what we're going to break down is what is shockingly happening over at AMD. We're going to be talking about the story behind it, and we're also going to run the OVTLYR Nine to see how AMD is set to perform, and who knows how long the shock is going to last. So let's jump right into it. First off, AMD stock is building some steam. Yeah, there we go. AMD stock is building some steam. It was up about 6.5% after Nvidia gained permission to resume AI chip sales to China, lifting the entire sector. And if you want to look at that, right, AMD looked super strong not all that long ago, right? It came through this area right here of a decent resistance, and then boom, popped right up out of it. And so did Nvidia. Both of them were ultra strong through here. However, AMD is way more stronger right now than Nvidia if you take a look at it objectively. Next, the golden cross, right? I've seen a lot of people talking about the golden cross on AMD. The 50-day moving average crossing above the 200-day, signaling sustained upside to lots of people. I don't know about that. I like to use the outlier trend template, which I'll show you right now. That's the 10-period EMA over the 20-period EMA with price over the 50-period EMA. So 10 over 20, price over 50. It's really simple to use, and boy, does it work. So let's drop on the golden cross template right here. This dark green line is the 200-day. The light green line is the 50-day. And we did just get a crossover here. But how far back did we have to go for that to happen, right? The outlier trend template actually crossed over 10 over 20, price over 50 here. Wednesday, May 7th. 10 over 20, price over 50. And it's gone up bigly since then. It's gone up bigly. It's gone up 59%. Wow, AMD is up 59% since that crossover here. This is why I use the outlier trend template, the 10 over 20, price over 50 versus the golden cross, right? The golden cross is lagging AF, okay? So it crossed bearishly in August of 2024 and is just now crossing bullishly after it's already gone up 59% since what we're talking about there. But it is crossed. A lot of people are going to be interested in it at that point. Next, HSBC actually upgraded AMD from hold to buy, raising its price target to $200, citing its new MI350 accelerators that can potentially compete with NVIDIA's H20 for AI workloads. Now, let's look at that real quick. Over in Outlier, we can actually see the news right over here. We can pop this open. Oh, that's for S&P. Let's go to AMD. You can actually see the news down here. And if you pop this open, it'll actually show you as if it's a positive, neutral, or even negative news right there. So super useful if you are building up stories to support your stock picks, kind of like what I just did. This is actually how I got these stories, by the way. But the analyst ratings are here as well. And you can see this HSBC upgrade right here from a hold to a buy with a $200 price target just happened about last week. And then broader AI enthusiasm is fueling momentum. Right? Motley Fool is highlighting that AMD is among 2 AI stocks that could soar in the second half of 2025. It's already been soaring, right? We can already see it's been soaring. In fact, it got a buy signal way back here, back in April. That buy signal came, and it has been nothing but rocket ships ever since. Next, mounting pressure beneath the hype. Here, right? Apple, Qualcomm, and Intel have weakness. Now, why would you care, right? That's the sector breadth is showing to be bearish. So let's take a look at those guys there. Let's look at Apple. In fact, maybe a little easier over here. Let's look at a side-by-side compared. So we've got AMD on the right side. Let's put Apple on the left side, AAPL. You can see here, Apple is just weak AF, right? Apple is not strong in the least. In fact, hang on, let me take off those moving averages here. I don't care about the golden cross. There we go. Look at Nvidia. Right, up 59% in the last few weeks versus Apple really languishing sideways to down in the last few weeks. And then we can compare it to Nvidia here, which is still strong like this. In fact, I'll be talking more about Nvidia in just a moment. Let's look at Qualcomm and Intel. Qualcomm, direct competitor to AMD, has been going up a little bit, but not really. It's really been going sideways. The real powerhouse move has been in AMD. And let's go to Intel, INTC. Again, sideways. It's got some overhead resistance right here. This is really not in comparison to AMD. AMD is strong AF for sure. But the sector breadth is bearish. So let's go to here, but let's go back. Let's go back to AMD. But I want to show you the sector breadth. How many stocks are getting buy signals in the sector versus sell signals in the sector? And you can see this green line right here is showing you how many buy signals out of 100%. It has absolutely been demolished. It was up at 75.82%, and it's now been crushed all the way down to 32%, meaning 2/3 of everybody in the sector is sitting on a sell signal. 2/3 of the sector is sitting on a sell signal. And Nvidia, a direct competitor, is still strong. Now, why do you care about that, right? If you're looking for one or the other, money's flowing into both right now, right? So you can't really say AMD is so much of a better buy than Nvidia because people are still buying both, right? You can totally say it against Apple. You can totally say it against Intel. But if you're comparing apples to apples, if you're comparing Nvidia's to AMD's, both of them are looking really, really strong right now. Really, really strong right now. So I can't say one or the other is that much better. And it's getting very extended on the outlier greed score. Now, this is what I wanted to really focus on, right? We got this buy signal back here when the fear and greed value of AMD was down at 33. It has gone up a lot, a lot. It was up at 33 and it's continued to go up nearly every day. And it's up at 83 right now. So it's gained 50 points on the fear and greed scale. The higher it gets on fear and greed, the more likely it is to snap back. And what I see right here concerns me a ton, right? We're nearly maxed out on the fear and greed score up here at 83. Can it go higher? For sure. It can on the price. We don't know where the price could lead, right? But the max fear and greed score is going to be at 100, and we're closing in on that almost every day. Now, Barron's and other analysts are cautioning that high valuations and rising yields pose headwinds and the tech stocks remain fragile. Now, there's also possible semiconductor tariffs, right? If we really think about it, these tariffs could be happening anytime. They raise uncertainty, right? Investopedia warns AMD could face further downsides if tariffs hit the industry. Of course, right? Every time we turn around, Trump is sending out new golden toilet treats, golden toilet treats. I don't know if I want that kind of treat. Golden toilet tweets. And just today, he was threatening to fire Powell. The market sold off because of it. And then he taco traded it, if you want to call it that. And now the market went right back up, right? There's a lot of political uncertainty across the board that's driving prices up and down. It's really frustrating these days, for sure. Now, let's talk about the 30-day shock. Could it snap at this point, right? First, HSBC's bullish narrative hinges on continued AI demand. Any China export delays or macro shifts could delay that vision, right? If we get tariffs, if anything happens with these permissions to sell stuff to China, right? That's going to wreck the whole thesis, right? For sure. Next, market fatigue is absolutely a real thing, and it could totally be hitting. It could hit any moment, right? Let's go look at the market breadth overall. It's already started to contract very bigly, right? So market breadth, this measures how many buy and sell signals we have. And we can see it peaked here on July 3rd with 73% of the stocks we cover having buy signals. And it has crashed hard and fast, down at 46%. In fact, if we look at the number of buy signals to sell signals, we have 60 buy signals today versus 382 sell signals. Now, when we look at the market, right, we look at the trend, the signal, and the breadth. The breadth of the market is looking weaker and weaker and weaker, right? And that could absolutely work against AMD for sure. A new tariff surprise could be working against it. And in all honesty, this could happen at 2:34 in the afternoon when Trump is sitting on the golden toilet and he decides, you know what, I think I'm going to slap China with more tariffs, right? And they can't buy any more chips. This is so frustrating. Tell me in the chat how frustrating it has been to trade with somebody at the helm who can just change the market on a whim because he's, his tummy's rumbly. Okay. It has been really freaking hard. Like Mikey Mike's saying, it's damn that golden toilet. It just keeps happening. Yes, I know. I've traded with this as well. It super sucks. Next, a combined weakening greed in the sector. Let's talk about that. Combined weakening greed in the sector and bearish sector breadth is going to drag on the stock sooner or later, meaning the fear and greed score that we measured for AMD, the average fear and greed score for the sector is down here, and it's been getting more and more fearful, less and less greedy, more and more fearful, and more sell signals, less and less buy signals. At some point, it's going to catch up with AMD. Okay, I don't know when, I don't know where, and I don't know how much. But if these were working for it, AMD would be up even bigger. It would be way more bigger, way higher. but it's going to drag AMD down if it hasn't started to already. So what I want to do right now is I want to run the OVTLYR Nine on AMD, and then I want you to tell me, how does AMD look at this point? How does AMD look at this point? That's what I want to hear from you in the chat. So let's go take a look first at the trend of the market. So let's go to the SPY, and I have the SPY right here. Let's pop over the SPY. Bull Market Genius says he prefers his president's quiet. Paul says he is so tired of this. Okay. Looking at this objectively, we can see that 10 over 20, price over 50 means a bullish trend on the market. Very cool. Next, the signal on the market is still sitting on a buy signal. So we've got the trend and we've got the buy signal working for us. That's great. Lastly, breadth. We covered this earlier, right? Breadth is not looking good at all. Breadth is falling off a cliff. Like I fell and closed that tab. Hang on one second. Tata says it looks like a weak buy to him. Let's scroll this over. And you can see market breadth is falling down hard and fast. So we're going to keep that as bearish. Next, we already talked about this, but the average fear and greed score is going down. The breadth of the sector is going down. So the sector is not doing AMD any help whatsoever. Now let's look at AMD itself in a big, beautiful, bullish trend right here. For sure, this is a bullish trend. And man, is it nice. 10 over 20, price over 50. So that's green. The buy signal came all the way back in April. We're going to mark that green. The fear and greed continues to rise, but it makes me really nervous that it is reaching these heights. So I could see a pullback sometime soon, but right now, all we can do is look at the data in front of us. And lastly, we can see any outlier blocks on top of AMD. This would be areas of support and resistance. In fact, let me change my chart slightly. Okay. Any areas of support and resistance? Well, AMD just broke through a ton of resistance right here, looking at higher resistance, but it's way up here at 177. So it still has room to run. It's still got 11.6% before it gets up to this resistance area. So for me, I would still light that up green. So AMD to me is a weak buy. Look at that. We objectively came through. We listened to the story about AMD, and then we objectively came up with a quantifiable way to grade AMD and show that AMD is a weak buy. So like I said, let me know in the chat, what do you think of AMD? What do you think of AMD? Deep Blue Diver says, a no bueno on AMD. Team Zipperlip says, looks like puts to him. Senior Wahoo says, thanks for the AMD fairy tale. Time for a nap. Jonathan says he loves the story. Very cool. So tell me in the comments down below what you think about AMD. And if you're ready to save time, make money, and start winning with less risk, click one of these two videos and have a fantastic day.